What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to be taking a look at the new Elemental Hero cards that were announced for Battle of the Elements. Now, if you don't know me or haven't followed my channel for a long time, you know I'm a huge fan of heroes in general, and I've been saying for a long time that Neospacian specifically need to get some more support. I'm happy to report that it looks like that's the case here, and I will say I have not read all of these cards. The only one that I've read is one of the spells, and that's because I ended up using the art as the thumbnail, so as I was editing it, I happened to look over it, but we're going to go through them today. It's from Battle of the Elements, or Power of the Elements. I'm not entirely sure which one it is. I'm doing this on the fly here, so whatever it is the next core set that comes out after Dimension Force in the OCG, and just based on some of the artwork, I am super hyped. I really hope that this follows the line of cards such as Miracle Contact, and I think it's Contact Gate that came out back with Savage Strike. There's just been some cool like one-offs for Neospacians and Neos, and I'd really like to see them get something that makes the deck fully playable, because it is such a cool concept with the Contact Fusion and all the different fusions that they have, but there's so many cards and just not many that do much of anything. So we're going to be using a bit of a new rating system for this as well, because I thought it'd be interesting to sort of do a live reaction for each one as I go through. So we'll look at playability, art, and synergy within its own archetype and other decks, and then we will do overall. So that's going to be the way we go through this. Let's start off with Elemental Hero Spirit of Neos, which I am hoping is a Neos retrain that actually makes it a bit more playable. If you guys do enjoy the content, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos, and let's jump into it. So, yeah, Elemental Hero Spirit of Neos is the first one. Level 7 Light Warrior, of course. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, okay, this isn't off to a great start. You can special summon this card from your hand in defense position, and if you do, it cannot be destroyed by battle. If this card is special summoned, you can add one spell or trap that mentions an elemental hero monster's name or one polymerization from your deck to your hand. So it does have to be a specific, so it would be something that mentions Neos, or like maybe Feather Shot, which mentions Avian. It's not just something that says hero or elemental hero. In other words, you're not going to be able to search like E-Call off of this, or Hero Lives, or anything like that. During your main phase, you can shuffle this card into the deck, and if you do, special summon one elemental hero normal monster from your deck. You can only use each effect of this card once per turn. Alright, that's a bit underwhelming, all things considered. I mean, I guess it's cute that you can search polymerization off of it, but most of the Neos fusions don't even use polymerization, so it's like they're trying to mix the Neos cards with the other hero cards, but the synergy just doesn't exist between those two. You know, Neospacian slash Neos is not going to play the same way the other hero decks do, even if you're playing like a Vision Hero, Evil Hero, Hybrid, whatever. So I was really hoping for something like taking the name of Neos, or like even just an extender that could special summon itself from the hand if you controlled a Neospacian but was treated as Neos while on the field. This does not really hit that mark for me. I don't particularly see it as all that playable in any capacity. Shuffling it back into the deck allows you to get a Neos, so I guess that's cute, but the only way to really special summon this guy is if your opponent declares an attack, or if you're using one of your spells that are designed to do so, but in most cases you're going to have better targets. So definitely looking at playability, I don't know, I'm going to say 2 out of 5, because that seems to be about the best I can give it. Maybe if this had come out 5-6 years ago, it would have been a bit better, just because the game was in a different place. But overall, it is not going to do it for me. Art-wise, I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. This is an absolutely beautiful artwork. I love it. I'm a little bit disappointed that they use such nice artwork on a card that's just generally not that great, but I suppose that is sort of par for the course. And synergy-wise, I mean, I honestly have to say 1 out of 5. It just doesn't synergize with Neospacians, really. It doesn't synergize with Hero, so it's sort of trying to bridge things together while sort of failing in every possible category there. So while it's really cool, I have to say this is overall a bit of a letdown. Crosskeeper is a level 2 Dark Warrior monster. It's got to be a retrain of Cross Porter, or at least in that same line of support. You can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard, special summon one elemental hero or Neospacian monster from your hand or graveyard. But if you special it from the graveyard, its effects are negated. If you special summon an elemental hero fusion monster while this card is in your graveyard, you can banish this card, draw 2 cards, then place 1 card from your hand on the bottom of the deck. Okay, so this is definitely a much better piece of support. Being able to special a Neos from your graveyard or hand is solid. It's a minus inherently, but it is a solid extender, and it does kind of make up for that because it can give you draw power. So even if you discard this to special a Neos from your hand, you can then make a Neos fusion and trigger this card's effect to draw 2, put 1 on the bottom. The card's going to replace itself, and you do get a little bit of, you know, hand fixing, if you want to call it that, ways to return some stuff, and just overall being a decent extender, just much better than Cross Porter in my opinion. It's pretty cool, actually, and it's dark, so it's got that synergy for whatever it's worth, but I think being able to revive stuff and a special from hand in certain situations is definitely going to be a plus for this card. So playability-wise, at least as it pertains to its own archetype, I'm going to say 3 out of 5. I do think it's really cool, and it'd be interesting to see whether or not this card alone with the draw power could boost Neospacians as they currently are. Art-wise, we'll go with 3 out of 5 on that. I mean, I don't love the art. It's not doing anything crazy for me like Spirit of Neos, but it's a neat card, and I like it for what it is. And Synergy, we're definitely going to give this a 4 out of 5. I think it's a really strong card overall in terms of what it does for the archetype. So the synergy that it has with it is very good. Will it be enough to do anything significant? I lean towards no, but that does not mean that it's not overall a success. Elemental Hero Shining Neos Wingman. This is cool, and a card I honestly never thought we'd see. I'm going to give this a 5 out of 5 right away for the art, because this is one of my favorite artworks they've released in the past couple of years. I would love if this was the cover card of the set, actually, but I don't know if we know what that is just yet. It needs Elemental Hero Neos and a Wingman Fusion monster, which is just weird, but I think there's 3 or 4 of them now, so I suppose it makes sense that they would do that. Must be Fusion Summoned. Gains 300 attack for each monster in your graveyard. Cannot be destroyed by effects. If this card destroys a monster by battle, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the destroyed monster's original attack. If this card is Special Summon, you can destroy cards your opponent controls up to the number of different attributes on the field. You can only use this effect of Shining Neos Wingman once per turn. So, card effect immunity from destruction. It's got burn damage, of course, paying homage to the original Flame Wingman. That 300 attack boost could stack up pretty quick, considering it's just each monster in your graveyard. And being able to pop non-targeting off of special summons, you're going to be getting at least 1, but in other circumstances, you may be able to get multiple. This is pretty cool. I don't know how in the hell you're ever going to summon it. I suppose you can use Neos and King of the Swamp. It doesn't seem to indicate you can't substitute a fusion, so maybe there's that. But I don't know if the way it's worded would suggest that you have to use, because King of the Swamp, I believe, substitutes for a direct name. So I don't know. There's got to be some ruling things I'd have to look at there, and I don't know off the top of my head. But we're going to go 5 out of 5 on art here. Synergy, I'm going to say 3 out of 5. I don't know that it directly synergizes with either side of heroes, that being Neospacians and Neos, but it may not matter, because it's good enough that if there is a way to get it out pretty effectively, it's definitely going to be a solid tool for hero decks to have access to, especially when you end up getting locked into warriors in a lot of cases, and this is a warrior that can do a lot. Playability, I think, will depend on whether or not there's other cards that'll allow it to come out quickly and effectively, but let's go with 3 out of 5 right now. That may be a little generous, but I think overall this is a really, really cool card, and it does have some potential. This is one that I definitely feel like, had it released even 4 years ago, would be in the conversation of just being a genuinely really strong card. But as we know, power creep does happen in this game quite a bit, so it's hard to say whether or not this is going to have any kind of impact. Guaranteed, though, this would be a really cool collector's item to own, and I would not be surprised at all to see this get a Starlight Rare when it comes out over here. Let's see what they do, but this one is pretty cool on my end. Engage Neospace. Hopefully this is something that actually makes Neospace work. Send 1 Neospacian monster and 1 Elemental Hero monster to the graveyard, 1 from your hand and 1 from your deck. Special summon 1 Neospacian monster or 1 level 5 or higher Elemental Hero monster from your deck. If it is Neos, it gains 1,000 attack. And if you do, add 1 Polymerization from your deck or graveyard to your hand. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck the turn you activate this card, except fusion monsters. So, you send a Neospacian and or hero monster from your hand and deck to the graveyard, so you can send a Grand Mole from deck and a Neos from hand, or a Shadow Mist from deck, and, you know, there's a lot of different things you can do here. And then special summon a Neospacian monster or a level 5 or higher Elemental Hero monster from your deck. So this actually has some really cool applications. Being able to, you know, tech a Neospacian in standard heroes and play this, you can mill a Shadow Mist, special summon a, you know, I guess that level 5 or higher restriction is actually what makes it a little bit tricky to play in generic heroes, but you might be able to do some cute things. I don't know, is it Necroid? Not Necroid Shaman, but there's a Sinister Necrom is an evil hero that came out in the Legendary Duelist Immortal Destiny that is a level 5 that has some pretty cool special summon applications. So, I don't know, this does feel like a solid card on paper. Within Neospacians, it's definitely going to be good, especially knowing that we just got that new cross monster that can revive stuff. This definitely seems like it has a lot of things going for it. Plus, getting that polymerization is cool. I don't know why they're pushing polymerization so hard, because your Neospacians are typically going to be contact fusion, but I don't know. I guess maybe there's going to be some more that we get to. Maybe they'll allow you to use polymerization for those summons or something. I don't know. So we're going to say playability. I'm actually going to give this a 3 out of 5. It seems pretty solid, at least on the front, and I'm really intrigued. I might actually like play test with this a bit more to see what happens once the cards get imported, but I do think this is pretty solid. The art I'm going to give a 5 out of 5. I mean, come on, it's Neos punching Uriah in the face. How do you not love that? And the synergy is really strong. I think we're going to say 5 out of 5 on this too. This is the type of card that Neospacians as a whole can really benefit from, being able to mill from the deck and get a monster from the deck directly, as well as polymerization. It is an inherent plus, even though, you know, getting polymerization is not always going to advance you as much as you'd like with the Neospacians. But I do think overall this is actually really good. It might be the best piece of support so far. It does feel like it's in the line of that contact gate sort of really strong application, but it's going to depend on the rest of the support and also whether or not we're getting anything else. But yeah, this is a win for me. Instant contact. Someone pointed out that Air Neos has been cropped out of this picture. Based on the GX anime variation, you can kind of see Air Neos in the silhouette behind regular Neos, but there's a lot of theories out there that Konami's got some kind of copyright issue with Air Neos, and that's why we haven't seen it reprinted or put into Master Duel. I'm not really sure, so I won't comment on the theories too much at this moment beyond that, but the card itself is pretty good. This is the one that I read. Pay 1,000 life points, special summon one level 7 or lower elemental hero or Neospacian monster from your extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. But if you do not have Elemental Hero Neos on your field or in your graveyard, that monster cannot attack. Its effects are negated. Also, return it to the extra deck during the end phase. This is pretty cool. This allows you to actually get the NEX Neospacians out of the extra deck. Things like Marine Dolphin, and I believe is a Twilight Moss, if that's the one I'm thinking of, the old Glow Moss NEX upgrade. But you can also bring out things like Mariner. You can bring out Flame Wingman. I mean, there's some pretty cool stuff you can do with this. And a lot of the fusions themselves that come out aren't wildly powerful, but I think it's a decent card as a whole. And this does sort of feel like a way to, you know, with things like Marine Dolphin and the other one, Twilight Moss, I believe they take the name of the Neospacian so you can, like, maybe cheat it out of the deck. You know, summon the Marine Dolphin, summon Neos, make Marine Neos, make it. You don't have to dedicate as much main deck space to some of those Neospacians. So I do kind of like this. It's also just kind of free resources. It doesn't put any restrictions or locks on what you can do with the monster you summon. So it's still kind of like an instant fusion at the very least, which is kind of neat. I mean, there's some application there. So overall playability, I'm giving this a 4 out of 5. This seems really good. Just in general, there's no, you know, pay 1,000 life points, special summon the monster, and you can link with it, you can synchro with it, you can fusion with it, so there's that going for it, which is really good, and it's kind of on the level of what you need with these. A little bit different than Ready Fusion, I suppose, but the fact that you can get heroes out is what makes this kind of neat. You can pull Flame Wingman directly from the extra deck and then fuse with Neos to make the new Shining Flare, so on and so forth. I do think this is actually really solid. So 4 out of 5 on playability. I don't know, 3 out of 5 on the art. It's cool, but it's ripped directly from the GX end credits, so it's not like they're reinventing the wheel here. It's still pretty neat to see these cards come together, and although Air Neos seems to have been shafted. And Synergy, yeah, I mean, this is a 5 out of 5 for Synergy for sure. Just looking at how it works within Hero and or Neospacians. Again, you could play this in regular Heroes just to have an extra link target to go into Wonder Driver, or to have something extra to fusion with, because there are no real drawbacks on it in terms of what you can do during the turn, other than it being a hard once per turn. So, big fan, really good piece of support. This and Engage Neospace both back-to-back are genuinely really good, and I think may do something to give the deck a bit more of an edge. We've got Enwave, a continuous spell. If your Elemental Hero monster or monsters is used as material for a fusion summon and sent to the graveyard or banished, you can special summon one Neospacian or Elemental Hero monster, Elemental Hero Neos from your deck. If a Neospacian monster and or Neos is shuffled from your field and or grave into the deck, you can special summon one Elemental Hero monster from your graveyard. This is crazy if I'm reading it right. So you use a hero monster as fusion material for a summon, and it's either banished or sent to the grave. You can pull a Neospacian or Neos directly from the deck. That's fantastic. I think that you can pretty much immediately see where some synergy would come in with this for, you know, regular heroes, or even if you're teching, like, I mean, there's just so many things that come into play with the cards like Vion that allow you to search a hero and fusion summon, things like Liquid Soldier, and it does work within Neospacians as well, but I'm wondering if there's a way to bridge it together, maybe maximizing some of the better Neospacian fusions and comboing it to get you know, good resources, resource management. Liquid Soldier's really good for that. So is Stratos. I like this a lot. This feels like a sort of a question mark right now in terms of playability because I want to play test it before I can say that definitively. But if I'm reading it right and understanding, you perform a fusion summon, you get a free monster from the deck. It can be Neos, which then allows you to go into a lot more plays within Neospacian. One of the biggest problems for that deck is Neos himself being borderline impossible to summon in most cases without overly committing resources, and this does seem to take that back a little bit. Not to mention, if you do contact Fuse, return Neos or a Neospacian, you can then special summon an elemental hero from your graveyard, so it does have that additional resource generation for you. This is really cool. I love the artwork. I'm going to go 4 out of 5 on that. I think it's super cool to see Mariner get some love. And synergy-wise, it definitely feels like a solid piece. I'd say 4 out of 5. The reason I'm question marking the playability right now is just because on paper it looks great, but it may not function that well in application. It's not a hero card. It's not technically searchable by many things, although I do think the new Neos can search it because it lists Neos specifically in the description. So there may be a combo there where you can special that Neos, get this to your hand, activate it, and then kind of go off from there with combos. So I do like this card a lot. Very intrigued to see what it can do, but right now I just don't want to trick myself into thinking, man, this looks great on paper, but in application it's not that great. We'll see. What do you guys think about this one? Let me know in the comments below if you think, because I definitely think it is something to keep an eye on. Now, FusionExceed is pretty solid. A quick play spell. Target one face-up monster on the field, revealing elemental hero monster or Neospacian monster, or a level 10 monster from your hand, deck, or extra deck. And if you do, use that targeted monster as fusion material this turn, you can treat its name as the revealed monster. Also, if you have Neos on your field and or in your grave, send the revealed monster to the graveyard. Otherwise, if it was revealed from the hand, shuffle it into the deck. So there's a lot going on here, but let me give you just one example combo to paint the picture of what it can do. You can target a monster on your field, reveal Neos in the deck, and then that monster becomes Neos. So you immediately have Neos' name on the field. Or you can reveal a Wingman from your extra deck. That monster's name becomes Wingman, and then you don't have to worry about getting the Neos out, so on and so forth. But you can reveal, like, Shadow Mist, send something, and then, you know, combo out from there by getting your other searches. So you do know that a lot of heroes trigger off being sent to grave. This does feel like it works in that regard, at least loosely, but its best benefit seems to be, you can obviously see the art Rainbow Dragon on there. This would let you get Rainbow Neos out pretty easily, although we can kind of do that with Neos Fusion now. There are just a lot of really good Neos cards in general that currently exist that I think is worth kind of keeping an eye on the way all of this comes together, but this definitely feels pretty solid. It's just doesn't necessarily generate you a ton of resources, but it does allow you to modify whatever fusions you need, and in certain scenarios can end up being, you know, a pay for itself if you mill something that gives you a search. So tentatively, I'm going to say 3 out of 5 on playability, 5 out of 5 on art, and synergy, 5 out of 5, because this ultimately allows you to bridge that gap, like I said, bring those decks together to play engines, maybe to play like part of a hero package, part of a Neospacian package, and this card would function as the one that kind of allows you to reduce bricking and get to whatever combo pieces you need to get to. So, big fan of this one too. I'm really impressed. These are solid cards as I read them, and I'm sure there, you know, like I said, there are a few that are a bit underwhelming, but overall, favorite contact. Special summon one fusion monster from your extra deck that lists a hero monster as material, placing materials listed on the bottom of the deck in any order from among your hand, field, and graveyard, or banished cards, ignoring its summoning conditions. If you place Neos, the summoned monster cannot be returned to the extra deck. Okay, so this is kind of wild because this is what's going to allow you to cheese out the Neos fusions, bypassing some of those restrictions. Thinking of cards like Elemental Hero, Cosmo Neos, and Nebula Neos, I believe, which was in the Megatin a couple years ago. Now you can get these out a lot easier, and they don't automatically return to the extra deck. Using face-up banished, using your graveyard field, any combination of those things pretty much means that cards like the one we just got here, FusionExceed, are even better because now you can mill and put things back and just kind of combo off, which is really, really cool to see. I thought reading this that it was going to be bad because it's a trap and it's a fusion trap, but this card is actually really, really solid. If you can open Neos Fusion or anything to get things in your graveyard and then get this card, you're set on turn 2 to go make something disruptive, whether that's Nebula Neos, whether that's Cosmo Neos, hell, even Chaos Neos, I believe, negates card effects, but I don't know, I think there's coin flips involved there, so there's so many Neos cards, and I'd probably have to sit down and do a deep dive looking back into them, but this is really solid. I think playability, and just to reiterate, we're using playability in the sense of within its own deck, right? Like, is it playable in the deck? Does it make the deck better? Not like, is it meta relevant necessarily? But yeah, 5 out of 5 on this, pretty much across the board, I think. It's just really good, and it gives you access to so many things. Being able to bypass those summoning restrictions is huge. I am hugely in favor of this, and list a hero monster as material. I do believe that means any of the elemental heroes should work for this, but granted, that's not impossibly hard to get some of the other ones out. It just doesn't specifically say it needs to have that name, but I do know this is a fan translation, so we'll have to wait and see. But overall, great card. Great piece of support. If you're a fan of these decks, you should be super pumped to see this card, in my opinion. Wake up your elemental hero. This is interesting. This, I believe, is actually from the Historical Archive, so it's slightly different. This is a level 10 fusion monster that needs a hero fusion monster and a warrior monster. Must be fusion summoned. Gains 300 attack for each fusion material used for its summon. This card can make a number of attacks on monsters during each battle phase up to the number of fusion summoned monsters used as material. So if you make it with 3, you can attack up to 3 monsters, etc. If this card battled a monster after damage calculation, destroy that monster, and if it does, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its original attack. If this fusion summon card is destroyed, special summon 1 warrior monster from your hand or deck. Wow. So that is really cool. That has a lot going for it. That effect can be really powerful. If you make this like turn 2 and just run over opponent's monsters and then burn for that damage, that's pretty solid. It's not impossible to summon. I mean, you can make it with a fusion monster with the new cards we just talked about. And although I don't love the artwork, it does look like they just kind of threw some of these renders on here. It's still a bit of a nostalgic throwback that's probably appreciated in that regard. We're going to go playability 4 out of 5. This feels pretty good just as a fusion in general, but you would have to play some of those cards that are specifically designed to get this out. And it is an elemental hero in name, so Miracle Fusion would work to summon it. Art feels a bit lazy. We'll go 3 out of 5 there. And then Synergy, we're going to go with a 4 out of 5 because I do think it's actually pretty good. I mean, it's a little bit basic. It doesn't negate necessarily, but like even if it is destroyed, you can pull any warrior from your hand or deck. That's a pretty solid pool of cards to choose from. So overall, I like this a lot. I think this is a really cool wave of support, guys, and I'm pretty impressed by it, to be honest. I know that Spirit of Neos isn't great, and I don't even think that Crosskeeper is amazing, but when you just kind of go over and look at some of these cards, I mean, these are just, there are some really, really intriguing combos here and cards to look at, and hopefully we do get a chance to see, you know, some of this in action. It'll be a long time before that's on Master Duel, but I know EDO Pro probably still has these, and once those come up, I may actually do a little bit of playtesting just to see what kind of combos you can pull off, because this is one of my favorite decks of all time, and I really think these cards are super cool. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you did enjoy the video, please hit the like button and subscribe. Are you excited for these cards? Am I reading too much into them? Am I not looking at combos or the things I'm missing? I'm sure it happens. And I did double check to be sure that these are all legit cards, unlike the fan-made one that slipped into my Mr. Ruin video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.